Hi, everyone. Welcome to those of me online. I'll give it another minute, see if anyone else joins us. As some of you might notice, I am not Bethany Warner, but I will be doing the presentation today. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Matt Schumacher. I am not Bethany, but I am the Senior Director of the Office of Advising Career Services, and I'm going to talk about some advising tools and functions, and some of you may be aware of, but now we are in the season of getting ready for spring and summer advising, as well as winter registration is now open. So what is available to us, and we do have some new features that I want to talk about today. So I'm going to review DegreeWorks. Maybe you know what DegreeWorks, that using that tool, but I want to kind of go over some of those functions and how that can best help students to get them ready for their registration. One of the new things I want to highlight will be Advising 360. Advising 360 is a new tool developed in-house by our own Tiffany Hampton. And it is a good resource. If you are familiar with what we call the loop, the loop is now embedded within Advising 360. So I'm going to kind of show you a little bit about that and how, if you are interested as an advisor getting access, how you would do that. And then some of the other, other functions and tools for advisors within our My EKU. So there's my overview. Okay, so DegreeWorks, again, this is our kind of a degree audit platform where students and advisors can utilize this tool. But this kind of shows, what the classes that the student has taken for their academic degree program. So, reviewing this information to make sure that it is accurate, and that, this is a shared responsibility between, the students and advisors. But the students should kind of be responsible as far as to keep track as far as what coursework they have taken. They should be letting the advisor know, if they've had any transfer work. Do they have any, test scores that was applicable to equivalent to any coursework? They may prior dual credit, but all that would then should be reflected on DegreeWorks. So, this is a great, tool to find, where students are at. And some of them look very closely at that degree progress bar, and that could, that is, I kind of just say, use that as needed, but it gives you an idea. Our office, we advise students in exploratory majors and associated general studies majors. So that's typically off for those when students in those programs, because it shows the progress for, not being a full bachelor degree seeking student. So we really focus and hone on as far as what are those course requirements, what do students need for that degree program. So, it provides kind of a good overview as far as just, what classes the students need and what they still need to take for their major. And, this is all kind of based on whatever catalog that student is on. So students, depending on when they enter EKU and or change their major, they will be on that academic calendar or academic, university catalog year to fulfill those requirements. So if students, obviously could be in majors that if the program has changed, but if they, are under our old catalog, they would be, had to satisfy those old requirements. But our new incoming students, they would all be under the, 23, 24 catalog program requirements. So when a student takes a class, basically they're in progress this fall semester. So if you have students that are taking classes this fall semester, they get a blue tilde symbol next to that area, showing them that it is in progress. And it'll basically sit that way until at the end of the semester when final grades roll. And when that student has then passed that course or received the grade needed for that requirement, then it would turn into a green check mark showing that they've now fulfilled that requirement. If the student did not complete that class or has not fulfilled that requirement yet, it'll be kind of an open checkbox next to that in red saying requirement still needed. But again, this quickly lets you visually able to review what those requirements are for that program and see what the needs of that student are and what classes they should be advised for that upcoming semester or upcoming year. DegreeWorks as well as I have a Mac, Safari sometimes can bring it up. Okay, sometimes I have Chrome working, but will be times where the audit will not pull open. So Firefox is the preferred browser of DegreeWorks. So when I do run into issues on the run or something like that, I quickly, there's a function where you can save the audit to a PDF. So I can quickly then load that audit into a PDF. That's another way to actually then, if you're someone that saves those requirements or want to get a snapshot of your advisee's information at a given point in time, save that audit and you can save it onto your computer, or then, that you want to send that out to your students so they have a snapshot of it as well. But really quickly, exporting as a PDF can be a helpful tool. So then the audit is broken up in different requirements as far as university requirements. So what they need in order to graduate overall, those GPA standards, getting a certain level of upper division credit. And then it will kind of go into usually to the general education requirements and then the actual program requirements. And so each block, for example, for it to be fulfilled for a Gen Ed Element 1, a student would have to complete it, their English 101 and 102 and their communications requirement for that to be then completely checked off when those three are completed. And so, like I said, it becomes a green check mark when they are fulfilled. So it is a great, helpful tool for, again, students to stay on track and for the advisor to know where a student is at during their progress. It's also, again, when a student has requested transfer work that that they said they've had and you do not see that, to basically nudge that student saying, you said you have this credit for this class, and nudge them again to submit their transcripts to EKU. If you see any errors with your student's audit or something that does not, maybe there's a class that's not applying to a certain area that should be applied, you can reach out to the registrar's office. And there's an email, reg.dgw@eku.edu. Let them know as far as the student that you're referring to and what should be most applicable for that student's issue. So this kind of shows you again really quick how to get to DegreeWorks. So there's a link off the homepage, EKU homepage, but there's also and then from that you can also go access it through My EKU. And then the bottom right link is something where it can be accessed through Advising 360. And I'm going to show you some screenshots and kind of talk about what Advising 360 is. But before I do that, one other feature of DegreeWorks that I really emphasize students and advisors using is the DegreeWorks plans. So this is a way that when you're reviewing the audit or you're reviewing the courses your students need, the student is making a plan for their upcoming semester. Personally, the way I kind of handle my advising appointments is that I basically reach out to my students before I meet with them and have those advising and registration type sessions. And I give them kind of homework and I tell them to review their degree audit and to start creating a plan for their upcoming semester. And I say that we will kind of review that together when we meet. So that way that student I know is going to be taking some time to review some of their course information, because sometimes this might be the only time of the year they're actually doing that, but this will get them into hopefully utilizing DegreeWorks more and then getting a better understanding as far as how it is used, and then they can see as far as keep track of their own academic degree progress. But they can go in here and create a plan. An advisor can also create a plan, and so that I would have them kind of create one for the upcoming term. So I would say, go in and start looking at what kind of classes you want to take for your spring semester, winter semester, summer semester, and because we could do it multiple semesters out. And so when they come to the advising session, then that would be a chance for me to talk with them, to see kind of what they've planned out, reviewing that with their overall 4-year plan, or making sure that they're taking the right sequence of courses. But that way, then I can have something to start with, and then we can kind of revise as needed. Once students have a DegreeWorks plan for the upcoming semester, with the new enhancements of MyEKU. When students go in to register, they are able to then register from the courses in their plan. So if you, like in this example, this student has some education classes, a couple of CMS options. So once the student goes in their registration and in the DegreeWorks plan and in their MyEKU, they can basically then they can open up, these same courses will populate there, and then they can quickly search those classes that were part of the plan. And then they can look for the different class times and options. If there were, CRNs placed in here, then they could, specifically look for those specific sections. But just reviewing those classes, this kind of gets that student ready to plan out when they're actually going to take those classes, when are those classes available for their upcoming semester. So a part of this also with the plan in DegreeWorks is that there's a note functionality. You can add notes on specific courses, as well as on the semester, as well as the total plan itself. We take it as a best practice that you are adding a note on the semester, and you're putting in the rack number at that time within their DegreeWorks. That will get the student used to going back and checking it. It's also in case that your student ever emails you later and says, I've lost my rack number, I don't know what I did with my rack number. They can always go back, you can say, just go to your DegreeWorks plan and review that, because it'll be stored there, and they can go back and check that and access that number as they need to. And like I said, you can also add a note on individual courses. If a note is made on an individual course, that is something else that the student will be able to see within the whole registration area under MyEKU. So if you put in a specific CRN that you want them to take, or maybe it was a hidden section that they need the CRN, you could add a note to the course. And then when the student actually goes register, they'll see that within the MyEKU when they plan to register. But we encourage, yes, there's a question, Brett.
Yeah, a question on mine from Holly. Would it be possible at some point to get some training and a quick how-to on how to use the planner? I love the idea of it, but I've never gotten the hang of this new one.
All right, awesome question, Holly. Yes, our office will be putting on some additional trainings throughout this semester. That I'm gonna when I talk about Advising 360, we'll be putting those through Advising 360 as a way for us to make announcements to advisors. But we'll be also, making sure that all the colleges know as far as when we'll be putting those trainings on. But it'll be based on DegreeWorks, mainly the plan, as well as kind of all the different features and functionality of Advising 360. So that's a good question. But yes, there will be more opportunities just to review the plan itself. Okay, so speaking of Advising 360, so let's see. I mean, many years ago, EKU used what was called, we had a third party, it was under EAB, the Education Advisory Board. It was called the Student Success Collaborative. So that was a great tool as far as a lot of good institute information, a note-taking capability, helping students get the right classes to stay on track. But just due to budget concerns and things like that, that went away. And so in the meantime, we designed, the help of IT, a internal system called what we call the Loop, and that was basically built in EKU Direct. EKU Direct is what it's under banner 8. And so what you see in my EKU, that's all been upgraded now to banner 9. So we're phasing out things out of the old banner 8 system because it's not going to be supported anymore. And as many things that we can put in either banner 9 or other systems, we explore to do so. And so with that, Tiffany Hampton, who I used to work, she used to work with me in my office, but now she's working with Carrie Ernst and Innovations. But she has a good mind for Slate and all those capabilities. And so Advising 360 has now been built within current student Slate. So if you were a user of the loop, then you would have to now, and if you haven't requested access yet to Advising 360, you should do that through a request and access to Slate. You don't have to be a Slate user at all. Basically, some of the screenshots I show you, it's just a web-based tool, kind of like what the old loop was. But it gives you a lot of good resources and information. And I think this should be like the initial just dashboard, or this is something I basically open every day, the first thing in the morning, and it's my first tab. I'm a tab person, and then I go on from there as far as like opening multiple tabs from this resource. So I definitely recommend you checking it out if you haven't already. But basically, this is we call it Advising 360. It is an advisor hub because you'll see your advisees within this. However, this is also a student support area where we have different areas such as the Student Success Center, our office, the Office of Advising and Career Services, Siege, a lot of different other support areas that are helping students. They can also get access to this as well, because this is where we utilize a kind of a centralized note functionality where if you're used to what was in the loop, this is basically the new loop, and we're still calling it the loop, where you can kind of see a good snapshot of student information, but also provide information if you've met with a student or you have made a referral for a student. You could do that within Advising 360. So this has been the central hub. That's what you see on the screen on the right hand side is what Advising 360 main homepage looks like. You see there's multiple tabs within it. It's also, like I said, it's a good hub just to kind of go to other places. There'll be a link out to my EKU. You'll see some forums that are maybe advising related type forums that you can navigate to or help students to find that link and share that with your student. The Colonel's Compass, which of course has all those important dates, add drop reminders, when registration windows open. And then Slate Success, which is a Slate for current students if you are a Slate user as well. Okay, so what are these different menu items within Advising 360? Like I said, it's a quick way to kind of access this information. Again, every day I have it in one of my tabs at the first thing in the morning. So if you are an advisor of any capacity, on your advisees tab, you should see all the students that are assigned to you, and it would be all based on any type of advising type. And it also would designate when you look at your list of students, how you are, if you are the supplemental advisor, if it's a secondary major, if you're the minor advisor, it would designate as far as what advisor type you are of that student. And if you're, again, used to using the whole, the whole loop, or what we call it, advisor roster and rack, that's kind of what that screen will be. It's very similar. The advisor roster rack is still there, and I'm going to review that too a little bit later. Lookup student. So this is not everyone will have access to this. This is kind of like for those super users and those like department chairs that can need to look at students beyond just their academic, their assigned advisees. So if you were a user of the old loop where you could look up students and you still need to do that, you can make that request also when you if you have Slate access. You would either request for Slate access and ask for the loop, and or just contact me directly, Matt Schumacher. And then I can help you get that type of access if you had that in the past. But that's why you can look up any student, not just your assigned advisees, and you would look up by name or EKU ID. There is now a quick information as far as just probation and suspension. Just so you know, we have a tiered probation, standing here, so that way you kind of look at what those requirements are as far as how a student, how will a student be able to get off probation. An advisor resource guide. So a lot of different resources that we're talking about today, things that we have off our website as well, will be are embedded on this resource guide. If you are a user of Slate Scheduler, or you make your appointments using Slate Scheduler, then you will also have a tab with that information. So those are kind of making those one-on-one appointments. If you're interested in using a scheduling type tool or software, this is what I would recommend. Utilizing Slate, because it's already connected with your advisees and our student information. And it's a quick, easy way for students to, see what availability you have and make appointments. An advisor checklist, basically some kind of best practices, resources, expectations, as far as, being an advisor at EKU. There is a little icon with a light bulb that if you kind of need some help as far as some of these screens I'm going to kind of go through today, you can always go there. Tiffany has put some helpful documentation so that you can review and to see to have a better understanding as far as what that menu means or understand. And there's also an icon on there that will kind of submit any feedback. So if you become a user of Advising 360 and you have some feedback, that's a way to kind of give feedback on the system itself as well. A couple other things I want to highlight on the right-hand side of your screen. You kind of see at the bottom of this page will be upcoming announcements. This is a way that for us to, we also, Bethany coordinates the Eastern Advising and Retention Network. So we share a lot of information out once a month through that meeting. But there is obviously updates and things going on throughout the whole academic year. And so this is where we will kind of also put these updates here. So if you need to know kind of like what's coming up or what's going on, or if you have an announcement that is, for the wider community, feel free to reach out to myself or Bethany, and we can also add that through this announcement. One of the big things most recently, of course, was our winter registration just came open on September 13th. And so we just reminded advisors that is where students can now register. And as another reminder that students do not need a rack number in order to register for winter. However, we're hoping that they are having conversations with their advisor to make those plans to see, what are they doing to kind of stay on track to graduating. Another recent announcement, if you're on there right now, is that when financial holds will go on students, and that date will be October 6th. So any student that has a student financial hold, that hold will be placed on their record on October 6th. And that's a registration hold that prevents registration, but that way your student will learn about it, and you'll be able to see it when I show you one of the screenshots within Advising 360 in the loop. Okay, so like I said, if you're an advisor of students, you will kind of see that on your advisees tab. Depending on how many advisees you have, that might take a little bit to load. And this is kind of pulling, our active students. So it's not just those are currently registered, but it'll be anyone that's kind of, currently active within EKU. So been at EKU within the last 2 years and eligible to return, they will be on your list. You can export that list when you bring that open into a CSV file. As far as the feedback goes, again, if there's anything that advisors want to see on that kind of maybe on the output, because the window itself, as far as what you're looking at, is limited based on just space on the actual your computer screen, but that export can have as many fields that might be helpful for you. So you'd be able to look at that and all those different headers within that advising list. You click on it, that can sort your students by clicking on those columns. And so this is also very similar to the advisor roster and rack. And so again, if you use that, and you will be using that, of course, when we come to advising, when you're advising students, you're getting the rack number for your student, because the rack number will still be accessible, and you need to get it through the advisor roster and rack. And you can click right there, will be a direct link to that page, and that would open up a new tab with that old list as well. I'll review that a little bit later too. And then, like I said, the lookup student function, if you are someone that needs this for your based on what you do, then you could have access to where you can look up any student, and that there's students that are beyond just that your advising group. Here's that kind of probation suspension kind of screenshot. So again, it gives you this is from the registrar's office. Kind of let you know as far as that tiered probation, how many hours, the impact as far as what GPA is required. There's also a tab about like information about interventions. I'm going to talk about progress reports too, but during these important times in the semester, as far as like how you follow up with your students, having that information that you need to provide that appropriate outreach. And then here's some of those items under the advisor guide. You see the link to the university catalogs, the general education classes, and like I said, some of those pertinent advising forms that you might need to either use yourself and or you share with your students. So these are kind of things that we will kind of be updating over time. But like I said, we're trying to make this a full 360 holistic, so you can support your students and you have all the appropriate resources at your hands, fingertips within this Advising 360 hub. And if you are using a Slate scheduler, whether that be the old scheduler or what's active scheduler linking up with your Outlook, you should see then this tab available within your Advising 360 as well. And then you can see within Advising 360 your upcoming appointments and view what those are, and also view your past appointments. And so that's just another feature with this, and it's right there where you don't necessarily have to go into another system or tool. It's just right there in this Advising 360. And again, Tiffany has added all that documentation for advising for the appointment scheduler within Advising 360 as well. Okay. So again, I just want to reiterate that if you don't want anything else today, Advising 360 will be your kind of go-to that we would really like advisors all to kind of utilize to try to find, to go to all these other additional resources. But also, another self-service hub that we have is the MyEKU. So there's an advisor card within MyEKU. And if you're an advisor, you would have access, that would be in your card. I've pinned mine, so it's near the top. So I can easily find that information. So some of the things that we'll cover here that is not necessarily in Advising 360, but it will be it's another good resource or tool for advisors, would be all the progress report information, would be the schedule of classes, and the kind of the advising course load and grades. But before I go on, I mean anything that we saw in the old loop, so that student information, so that's a student's schedule of classes, that's a student's their academic performance, that's their current advisors, all their different program types, and maybe but there's just a lot of other information in there's about how advisors take notes functionality. So if you are used to kind of seeing, making a note on a student once you've met with them, that will be all embedded in Advising 360. Yeah.
We have one question from chat. It's from Cindy Tran. Sometimes we have students attend advising with an advisor and the department that isn't who they are assigned to. Is there a way to allow advisors access to the rack numbers for students across the program while still preserving the official advising list?
So if you there's a way to kind of get to advising or rack numbers within my EKU still, and I'm going to review that in a moment. So you might still be able to access it in an old way, and maybe you can check that first to see if you still have access to it. All department chairs have access to rack numbers, so that's another way. And then there's going to be some additional kind of functionality where if you become if you're basically the one that advises a student, you're using the DegreeWorks plan, and you're basically making a plan for a student, and you are making that plan active and locked, that also will release a communication to the student, giving them their rack number in an email. We're working with IT right now to get that script going. So that's one way that your student will get access to it. And then that rack number at that point will be then added as a note within the DegreeWorks plan. So that way it would also be automatically added within that student's plan, that you could then get it that way. But as soon as if you're the one advising the student and you use the DegreeWorks plan, that'd be probably the most efficient way. Then that your student would receive it, and then you would actually know where it's going to be stored as well, because it's going to be on that student's DegreeWorks plan for that particular term.
That's nice. That's a nice.
Yeah,
feature.
that's something that we're working on right now, and that should be live, sometime during this semester. So right now, I think I have another meeting with IT and the Slate folks this afternoon, working on that script to make sure that's we're testing that feature right now. And then if it does go live, it'll be, I think, around mid-October. If for any student that has a active and locked plan for spring 2024, that rack number will be generated, and that will be released to the student and in an email.
And it's saved in their plan.
And it's saved in their plan.
That is really nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice feature.
Yeah, it's something we've never tested before, kind of an automated note, but because we find that students misplace their rack number all the time. They don't take, I always have to take a picture, do it multiple places. But if everyone knows that it's going to be stored in their DegreeWorks plan, that's kind of like common language that we can say, hey, if you've been advised and you have a plan, check your DegreeWorks.
Do they still have someone at the college level? I know there used to be one when I was in class, that at least one person in the college, out of the dean's office also has access.
Yeah, I would reach out to me if you have any of those individual cases, and then we can kind of explore as far as like who that person was or is, because there might be someone else that you could get that from. It's kind of like of course, rack numbers, like, we want to make sure that right people have it, that,
Sure.
that, they're the ones that are advising the students. So, because in the past we've had where, students could get racks from a lot of different places, and, some people had access to different banner screens and permissions, but we want to make sure that the person that's closest to that student with their curriculum is the one that's kind of like has access to it.
So each time that, and I'm trying to speak loud so everybody can hear. So each time that the students plan, because I know in the past, so I did graduation checkout at one point, and it was encouraged that people use the planner, but there were some people that didn't use the planner. So as long as the person's planner, the student's planner is updated, or whenever a new plan comes in, that rack number will be in there.
Yeah. That's why we're really encouraging, like, we need more people, more advisors hopefully are going to start using the DegreeWorks plan, hopefully because of this element. But it's just a kind of best practice, because ultimately when we got DegreeWorks years and years ago, the whole idea was that advisors, students will start making these plans, in future semesters, because that could also impact as far as what are the classes that we should be offering in the future. If we're seeing this demand for this particular term, obviously I think departments kind of go historically what they offer, in the previous semesters, but there could be, just based on what students we have at that particular semester, that particular year, how do we use that information as far as to determine, do we need to make an offering of this class?
Mhm.
This wasn't actually on the schedule, but we are actually seeing this many students have this in their plan for this term. Should we look at that course offering? So I would like all advisors to use the DegreeWorks plan. That's another nugget that you get from this. Utilize a plan, and for that spring semester, and then we also kind of test that out to see kind of what that looks like. But all that will do then is it's going to kind of create that note with that rack number, and it should generate then a communication to the student, and like they'll have that as a backup too. And I think we're also working where they will also get the courses that was in that plan too, within that email. So that way the student has it in an email message as well as back in DegreeWorks.
And they wouldn't have to wait as long to see an advisor in person because the advisor had established.
Well, that's a good question. So that depends on how the advisor wants to advise the student. So our advisors really want to have a face-to-face interaction with the student. Usually it might be because of, academic reasons, issues, things
Sure.
like that. So our advisors, we will wait until we actually meet with our students that we're basically making an active and log plan. Because if we did that prior as a prior preparation, potentially the student would get that and not come in and see us. So so our practice is, we'll do as we usually do. We will, have the student kind of create that plan, review it, then make it active and locked once we meet with the student.
Well, and your population is different.
But yeah, exactly. Everyone's
So like,
different.
as they get into the major, they may not need to physically see there as long as they know what courses that their advisor is suggesting that they take. Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Okay.
It's from Nikki Hill. Is there a cheat sheet that we can send students that explain how they can create the DegreeWorks plan prior to our advisor meeting? Also, is there a cheat sheet that we can send them that shows them how to request an appointment with us for advising?
Okay, regarding the second question first, are you utilizing the site scheduler?
She is in a department, so probably.
Yes.
Oh, she
Okay.
is.
Yes, so there is I don't know about a cheat sheet, but your best bet would be just kind of email me. I know Bethany, we have some resources that we use for students to start creating a DegreeWorks plan. We might have some other stuff off our website, but our website just last week kind of migrated, so we've lost some things. So please reach out to me and I will look for that available resource as far as like how a student can create a DegreeWorks plan. Because we also have videos out there. I just got to find out where they're at this point. And then the scheduler, same thing. Basically, you would have a kind of a landing page that you would kind of just share out with your student. But depending on if you have the regular scheduler or the active scheduler, it's a little bit different. Within the Advising 360, there is definitely a resource as far as some screenshots. But please reach out to me and I can kind of make sure you find the appropriate information.
I'll put your email in there.
All right, perfect. All right, I'll keep going, but feel free to kind of jump in if you have more questions. So back to then the MyEKU, and I'm kind of just talking about these these other features that aren't necessarily in Advising 360, but something that you probably want to go to and rely on as well. So that is the advisor roster rack, that is student academic history, progress reports, advising course load and grades, and schedule of classes. So again, if you've been advising for the last few years, then you're used to kind of going to the advisor roster and rack, because that's probably where you got the rack number for your students. You had a list of your students, and you would click on that particular term that you would need the rack number, and the rack number would generate. That is still where you would get the rack number. Right now, if you can go with this new feature, but if you want to go, go with what you're used to, you can still click there. And grab the rack number there. But if there's any change, and like I said, that whole active and log plan should also be generating it. But like I said, this is kind of brand new. So if there's any updates to this, I will be putting them in the Advising 360, so everyone is keeping up with kind of what's happening. We will also be going we're doing a kind of meeting with colleges by college with some of the leadership, reviewing some of this information in the next couple of weeks as well. So we got the advisor roster rack, and then we had the academic history. So the one thing you'll see in an Advising 360 within the loop, when you look at a student's history there, it's only going to show their academic history most recent, and it's only going to be EKU history. So if you're looking for the complete academic history of your student, of course, DegreeWorks should have that. And then you can, when you're in DegreeWorks, you can kind of you can bring it up by semester as far as when they took that credit. But also in that, when you click on the academic history within MyEKU, we do have a link from Advising 360 as well. Academic history, you can then view the student's full academic history. That's at EKU, as well as any transfer work they have. Progress reports. So since we are in progress report kind of intervention season, progress reports on individual students. So when you're looking them up in Advising 360, you'll be able to see your individual students' progress reports. That's actually a new feature. We didn't have all that within the old loop, but now you'll be able to see whether the student received a satisfactory or unsatisfactory, as well as any comments made. But if you want a kind of holistic, kind of complete list, that is still in my EKU. You go to your advisor card, you click on progress reports, and then you'll be able to get a complete list all together of all your students within that. Progress reports are also still under the whole banner 8. That is still something that we are looking to as far as what would be the best system kind of moving forward. But man, we had there was like 98% participation from faculty. So the 4-week progress report was awesome. We had a really great, participation, and we really appreciate that, because that means students are getting that kind of early feedback, and then advisors can act on that information to help those students, based on those who have those unsatisfactory needs at that time. And then there's also then the course load and grade. So maybe you haven't used this recently or you're not even familiar with it, but this is also within that advisor card of my EKU. But again, this is a quick way to kind of get a list of all of your students really quickly, and it should have the midterm and final grades on here. So when midterm grades become available, they will be posted in here, and then final grades as well. So if you're just trying to get, really want to quickly look at all of your students, this is what I do. I kind of get this, I scan it all, and that kind of lets me know as far as, okay, who are these students that I need, that need my attention, intervention first. Those looking at with those multiple, unsatisfactory grades or something at midterm, because that is only going to be the midterm grades and final grades. Okay, I guess, is that my last slide? So I think that is my last slide. And know that, anything, if you have any, you need any resources, you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to me. Of course, I'll take them right now. But if you're within your Advising 360, please, take a look at that. One of the an additional type of feature that I really like, again, is when you bring up your whole list of advisees within Advising 360, there will be then a link to that student's degree works. So that way you can see your whole list of your students, click on view degree works, and that student's degree works will open up in a tab right next to the Advising 360. So you don't have to then copy and paste or look at that student again in a degree works tab. So that alone is awesome, and saves a lot of time, where you can kind of quickly then, like I said, I'm a tab person, and I usually just have multiple tabs of all the different students. So my plan is always, I see my upcoming appointments in the morning, then I'll review as far as who has degree works plans, who's kind of done their homework or not. I'll make some notes if necessary within that, but I will kind of use Advising 360 to kind of get to all their different plans, their degree work audits, and also plans to review that information before their appointment. And like I said, with Advising 360, there's a lot of other people using it. So you'll be able to see another, let's make sure, I think I have a screenshot as far as what. But within Advising 360, once you get to an actual student's record, another tab you'll see, it's called forms and registrations. So if your student has recently, they've done a program change, a major change, maybe they're adding a minor or something like that, that type of information will be there. If they've checked into anywhere that's utilizing Slate or getting any support, you can kind of see if they're utilizing these different services, like Null Studio or the tutoring or the Student Success Center. So that can also be pretty helpful too, to kind of really see holistically as far as how, what type of engagement your student has, helping them get plugged into different resources. And like I said, reviewing those notes on the students and making appropriate notes and referrals, because it also has a referral system. So if you do see a student that might benefit from utilizing the Knoll Studio, you can go to the note functionality, and when you add a note, you'll say add a student referral, and when you check that box, it'll show the different offices that you can make that referral to, and then that notification, once you submit that, will kind of go to that center that puts that student on their radar, that they can follow up with. Biggie Central is another one that basically will send a message to the student, letting them know that they've been referred to Biggie Central. They'll get an email that has a lot of helpful information regarding Biggie Central, and then how they can make an appointment. We have students that they're referred to our office, that they will get the student will receive an email, basically letting them know how to make an appointment with us if they want to. And maybe it's, whether that be advising or career related at that time. So that referral system is really new, and we're kind of kicking the tires on that this semester. So please check that out. And if you have any feedback, like I said, and you can always go to Advising 360 and click on submit feedback. If you want to be included in any capacity, or departments that might be interested, you can do that, but within any of the other features as well. Again, we put a lot of this information out to earn every month, but please just check back regularly. If not for anything, just these different upcoming announcements, because we try to give advisors information at the time they need it, so they can again best support their students. And we'll be also providing when our earn dates are and things like that. So if you're ever interested, we meet mostly via Zoom, but there'll be times too that we will get together now in a hybrid style. So if you're ever interested, check out when those Eastern Advising and Retention Network dates are as well. Is there any other questions?
One thing. So I've had this question before from faculty that may be looking to help their students. Do they automatically have advising tabs in their MyEKU? Or the things that you see?
So if you're an advisor, you have to be an advisor to have that advisor card in MyEKU. However, within Advising 360, they could request to get access to Advising 360 and not be an advisor. They would not have their list of advisees, but they would have access to different different resources and information they need. And if they have, if there's someone that makes different referrals, we can try to get them access to the loop where then they can then view students and kind of make those different appropriate referrals as well.
Is it just their students? I mean, do they have a way of seeing their students' information?
Well, so if you're a faculty member and not an advisor, if you would go through, there's the faculty card.
The
Now,
faculty card.
That information is going to be somewhat limited as well, because advisors just have, you have to get DegreeWorks training, FERPA and data trustees training,
yep.
and all this other kind of student privacy information training. Not all instructors have that, so they don't have all that other information available to them.
Okay.
But if there's someone that has different roles, they can kind of always contact me, and I can kind of help explore as far as what might be best. What might that look like?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've had several part-time faculty ask that, how do I help my students? And I can see things that they can't. I'm
Yeah,
I don't know.
We've done things with the first year course instructors where they could see a little bit, they have access
Yep.
to the advisory roster and rack, and they can see some information that other instructors, just because they receive a different type of level training,
Right.
and helping those first year students.
Thank you.
You got several people saying thank you.
All right. Yeah, well, I appreciate you all joining me today. And like I said, if you have any questions or something that we could help you down the road, please let us know. And we will be posting when those different other trainings will be very soon.
Did have one more question, that's from Nikki Hill. I don't have an advisor card in my AKU. I see my advisor for my EDD program, but I only see the faculty card. I do not have the advisor card, but I have advisees. How do I get that card added to my EKU?
Try going down to the bottom of your MyEKU, and that's where you'll see Discover More, and try searching for advisor. It might be there, but maybe it hasn't been added. And if nothing comes up at all, then again, probably reach out to me, because it's probably something that we'd have to make sure that you should have access to your advisor though. So I'm hoping that you could find it or Discover More. And then if you are able to bring it up at that point, what I do is there's like a little ribbon next to each card. Click on that, so it's going to be able to be pinned to your front page.
Also,
She's gonna send you an email.
Okay, send me an email.
also, I'll be following up. We've been following up the video from here. So if you have any dates that you want us to send out to the group of trainings or things like that, I can do that in a follow-up email.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely have some, coming up at the end of this month and in October. But like I said, we're rolling out this whole Advising 360. You're going to be doing some degree work plans, training. And like I said, we're first starting with kind of like some the leadership of the different colleges. In the next couple of weeks, we're doing that first. But we will, in the meantime, we've also had some degree works plans training too. And I apologize that Bethany wasn't able to come here. She's so much more exciting, and she knows all the things. So I apologize. You just get me today.
We're in good hands with you. We know you know your stuff.
Yeah, but thanks again for joining. And I guess, we're here. So just some other dates you all are probably aware of that exploratory majors advising, will start, officially tomorrow, the 20th. And then the rest will be the following October 4th, I believe. However, those are kind of just good dates that we kind of recommend. I mean, if you are an advisor and, you can obviously reach out to your students at any time and start, advising whenever you need to. But those are kind of the official season dates as far as when advising is starting.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.